All right, I think we're about ready to get started for our newest expert session, which we're really excited about. Will be super insightful. Today's theme for our expert session is B2B sales as a roundtable, handling objections, creating proposals, and negotiating, and really anything else that that comes up with our special guest, Guillermo Piñón, the head of sales for Latin America at Smartly.io. Especially when you're an early stage startup, sales are extremely hard. So we're excited to bring you some insights and to have a more open dialogue. We try to do these expert sessions to deliver value to the entire ecosystem, the entire community. And sometimes, like today, we actually hold private ones for just the founders in our portfolio companies to show our appreciation and love for those that are in our portfolio, and really try to have a more intimate space so that it's easier to have an open dialogue where it's a little less crowded and very specific concerns or ideas or issues can be addressed directly rather than having a huge audience. So we do like to mix it up, and today is going to be one of the more intimate ones, and we're excited for a pretty informal and casual discussion, although I know Guillermo has some thoughts prepared. So before we start, just a quick intro of Guillermo, who again, we're so appreciative to join us. He is currently the head of sales for the Latam Market at Smartly.io, as I mentioned, which is a global advertising technology company selling enterprise SaaS solutions. Guillermo's team has achieved double-digit growth for 5 consecutive years at Smartly.io, and he has expertise building relationships with C-level executives, large advertisers, and big 6 media agencies, becoming a consultative ally that helps them reach their objectives. This experience has enabled the negotiation, closing, and renewal of large ad tech contracts with some of LATAM's most prominent advertisers, including industry leaders such as Didi, Mercado Libre, Liverpool, Kavak, Despegar, and many others. And before he was in this role, he was the VP of Biz Dev for an ad tech company based out of Argentina with the successful exit to Undertone, which is part of the Perion Group. So really an enormous amount of experience and insight, and we're just really lucky to have Guillermo and excited to get this started. So with that, I'll pass it on to Ellie. So Ellie, go ahead and get started.
On that note, I took some of the comments from our Slack conversation about topics in sales enablement that you guys wanted to see and shared them with Willy. We call him Willy. You can call him Willy. The idea is that we can all share our stories, and Willy has prepared some of his stories and sort of like wins and strategies within those buckets that we shared on the event agenda, presenting proposals, objections, overcoming objections, and negotiation techniques. This is only going to scratch the surface, and I have in my back pocket more ideas for how we can keep this conversation going with other speakers and with other folks in the portfolio who also want to share some of their knowledge with you guys. So without further ado, I'll let Guillermo/Willy kick it off.
Fantastic. Thanks for the intro. Excited to be here, this knowledgeable group. So the first topic we had was presenting proposals. And I think that this topic we could talk an hour about it. There's so many things involved on it. We could be talking about when to talk about pricing, like the difference between value selling and feature selling, how to measure impact when you're presenting proposals, if you send them by email or just present them personally. Like there's so many things involved here on how to present an adequate proposal. And it's also way different whether you're selling something that costs maybe $200 per month or whether you're selling a SaaS that is more enterprise level that costs like the price point starts in like $1,000 to like $10,000 a month. So I guess it's all different sizes of companies have different techniques on how to present proposals, when to bring up pricing, difference between feature selling and value selling. So does any of these topics resonate to you guys? I've been working in ad tech for 10 years. So when, it's a very innovating vertical, and it's very easy for us to say, hey, this is a new thing we have. This is a new thing that differentiates us from Meta, from Snapchat. This is a new thing we've just developed because 40% of my company, we're engineers. So for us, we feel very proud about what we've accomplished. But that doesn't mean that you have to lead with, okay, we've developed this is so cool. Is this impactful for the customer? How much value can you assess that this is going to bring to the customer? So I think it's a very important thing to differentiate value selling versus feature selling, because you've all created a SaaS that you're very proud of. And then how do you then differentiate, okay, this is my product, but what I'm selling you is how to get from A to B instead of I'm selling you this add-on or this SaaS or this, UI. So I think that's super important. And I think you have to train yourself on it, because it's so easy to be like an engineer selling and saying, look at what I've developed. It's pretty cool, right? And they're like, yeah, it's cool. But then how do you go from there to pricing, to value, to impact? And I think that's something that needs to be very present in the conversations when you're presenting a proposal. Really understand, okay, this is the value, this is what we're solving, this is a problem that we're solving. Okay, these are all the features that help us solve, but this is what we're solving. We want to take you from A to B, and if you can measure the impact, then it's going to be a lot easier to get into the pricing conversation. Typically in proposals, what I want to do is focus on the most important things. I want to focus on, of course, on value, on impact, on pricing. And then sometimes before, I used to send the contract right at the beginning. So I guess it depends also on what type of customers you're selling to, right? If they want to first focus on proposal and then they have a legal team, or if you wanted them to be closing fast because your SaaS is maybe a lower price point, so you want to send the contract there. So I think those differences are important to understand. That's pretty much how I'm presenting proposals at Smartly. So we present what they want to solve. We present what the value we're bringing. We present impact that we've had on similar customers on their vertical. So case studies, we call them. I'm very transparent on what the pricing is. If you have different modules, which ones start right there, which ones don't, what are the discounts available. I typically try to put pricing in just one page. And so I follow a very similar pattern, and I want to present it in person. I don't like, okay, can you send me a proposal? Sometimes they ask that, and then you don't have a chance to really walk through that you've taken the right, that you've listed the right pain points that they want to solve. You want to cover that up. You want to cover all that, because sometimes there was something that you didn't cover, so you have to come back and redo the proposal. So I think it's super important to try to present it. I guess it depends on the money component. If it's a cheaper price point, just send it. And you want to close.
Can you clarify what the price point is? I was thinking it might be helpful for us all to understand what are the average contract values of the proposals that you guys are sending.
Right. My price point is typically like $60K a year. So it's enterprise for Latam. So I don't want to send, I push back when they ask me to send a proposal. I'm like, we present them because you really want to list all these things, but I understand, but my sales cycle is 60 to 90 days. So if your sales cycle is 30 days or 15 days, then you can be more flexible. I typically try to, in my experience, all the technical questions, I typically have sessions even before presenting proposals. Like I typically have, I try to discover who are the decision makers. Sometimes I need to have parallel conversations between the commercial teams and the implementation and technical teams. And that's in the technical and implementation teams. That's where I bring my guns, my engineers and everyone to have those kind of conversations that I can only understand very superficially. So I try to, have parallel conversations so you don't derail then the commercial part, so that it's handled through the kind of, its own thread. Sometimes customers, they want to have like a timeline of when, then, first conversation, discovery, we're going to discover, then we're going to have a demo, then we're going to have like discussion, like technical discussions, or, you can have all those in a timeline so that you put everyone on check, kind of, okay, this is a deadline. We have like 2 weeks to get through all your technical questions. Maybe that can work. And then you always end up with contract signing. So all the timeline until contract signing. And then when you contract signing, you can say, and I'm going to create then a new timeline for the whole implementation and how we're going to, once you become a customer. At Smarty, as our product got more robust and we were really sure that that the value we provided, then we decided, okay, let's just POCs. First of all, we passed from free POC to paid POC. And then we're like, okay, and then how do you make sure they're going to sign after the POC? So we kind of stopped offering no contract POCs, and we went like, you're going to be on a contract. Either it's free or paid or discounted, but you're going to sign the contract now, and then you have an opt-out. So the POC, it's like usually like...
I experienced that when buying SaaS too.
With the opt-out, so that you go through all the legal hurdles before and you really know their intent of paying beforehand.
Yeah.
Because if they... what you don't want to do is work super hard, prove all the value points, see, okay, this is what you wanted, this is what you got. You've gotten 99% of what we've said we were going to bring. And then they're like, okay, but you're too expensive. One thing I want to say, what you also gain is that I've learned that usually SaaS companies, the most lift that you have with a new customer is typically the first month, the first 6 months, first 3 months.
In upselling or in just
new customer? When you acquire a new customer, typically your engineers, your customer people, the most lift that they have to do is typically on the first 3 to 6 months.
See, the level of effort, yeah.
The level of effort. It's the level of effort. So what you want to try to think is, how do I make sure that effort gets rewarded? And that's how you want to give those tools to the sales team, so that then you don't end up with customers that churn before you've seen any revenue from them, because typically there's so much lift from engineering. So think about the contracting part, the negotiation part as being very important, because you want to be rewarded with all that effort that the team is putting to you. So you have to think about that. Of course, you're in different stages. If you're in growth mode, maybe you give free trial and that's accepted. But as you grow,
I've committed this on the buying side, taking a free trial to get all the juice and insights out of it. And I didn't even have it approved or just discussed really, but I was super curious about building, and it sounded very innovative. And it was really easy for me to say, no, I don't have budget at that. And so it happens even with good people with good intentions who want to build good relationships and try something that's maybe, especially for people who have never had this type of service in their stack before, it's like maybe more speculative the way that they're buying. To be wary of the people like Eddie was when she signed up for Fin Analytics.
We've gone through 4 different price increases in my company, and we've always tested the new price methodology with new customers, and then it rolls into existing customers. So we prove the value, we prove that the price point is right, and then we start the rollover to existing customers. Sometimes it's not immediate, sometimes it takes 6 months, sometimes we even have exemptions because it's an old customer that we all love and we don't want them to churn. But we test the new price point with new customers. We see that it's fair, and then we roll it over to existing ones.
But that's like a one and done. It's not like a consistent thing that you're doing. It happened once in the past, and now you have a set pricing. It's more in the discovery.
We've done 3 price increases in 5 years. So.
Okay.
Oh, yeah. when you first sold to that customer, maybe your SaaS was this, and now it's this. So you're like, okay, we've grown a lot. You've seen our product. Now we offer X, Y, and Z. We have a lot more value that we're providing to you. How do we increase adoption? And once you increase adoption, then it comes with a different price point. So you can have those two conversations on, hey, we're offering a lot more value, and that's why we're increasing our price point. And the second one is also give them some incentive to sign annually, saying maybe on some months that you're hiring a lot, you're paying me $5,000. If you sign up for 12 months, then you'll know exactly how much you will be paying me each month for a discount. So you kind of gain the maybe a lower price point, but then you gain that, you know, that every month you're going to get the same revenue from that customer. So that's what you want. So give them those kind of things, you know.
I wouldn't forget one thing. If your product is essential for that company, if it's essential and they can't live without it, and you have a fair price and it's not too crazy, they shouldn't churn. If you're falling in the bucket of so many other players doing more or less the same thing with no differentiation whatsoever, but in the pricing, you are fucked. That's what happens in telco, in electricity, in all the most, old-fashioned industries. When you fight for a price and you don't fight for value, features, etc., they will churn. You won't renew those contracts. You won't convert them into something else. So I think the differentiation piece, you all that are very product mindset people,
Negotiation techniques.
is very cool. It's very important.
Okay, I'm going to switch topics to negotiation techniques, if I may. And since we have 13 minutes, maybe we will finish out with this topic. Willie, you first. What is your secret sauce? I think that there's different personas of salespeople, right? Maybe you start by telling.
Yeah, I'm more of a consultative. I've learned that I'm not a challenger, and I really admire salespeople that are challengers, because I don't have that personality and confidence that I can really challenge customers a lot more than I should. So I try to become their ally and consultative, and I've done well that way. But I've seen that challengers can be, depending on the market, especially in the US, I've seen them that they can be super successful. So those are different personas. And then techniques, like I've written a few that can spark the conversation, like never negotiate against yourself.
What does that mean?
That means that when you present a pricing and they ask for a discount, they have to tell you how much they're willing to pay. You don't just offer discounts. You don't know when it's going to finish. They're like, oh, that's not enough. You can do better.
I see. Yeah.
Wow. So that never negotiate against yourself. And the second one I have is always ask for something in return when you're making a concession. And that sometimes is, it can be either payment terms, it can be longer contracts, it can be case study, it can be refer me to a customer. It can be so many things, but try to always get something in return.
I like it.
You need to spend as much time as you need with discovery, and the best salespeople are the ones that ask the most questions. So when hiring for your next sales leader, ask for that trait. Like, how many questions is he asking throughout the process? If you're having a mock sales interview process, then try to look for those kind of people.
What is the
Curious,
ratio of
minded.
talk versus listening? I've heard you say this before. What's the ratio that you would
It's more
prefer?
like, I like to talk about the ratio of how long you're talking without asking questions. So typically, I think Gong tells you never.
That's a partner, by the way. You can have a perk through Gong if you haven't signed up for Gong. They have a perk through the Venture City. It works well for Salesforce. I don't know what else it works.
So it tells you not to talk for longer than 4 minutes. Like monologues over 4 minutes you lose people's interest. So try to keep them short. Try to have a good interaction rate. So interaction rate means them talking back to you, asking questions, or you asking questions so that they answer. So try to keep that interaction high. And then I wasn't sure about the talk ratio, but if you have a good interaction and if you don't talk about more than 3-4 minutes, then possibly
Monologues, no.
the interaction, the rate's going to be good.
So you can definitely have the best materials, have the best speech, understand the customer better than anybody else, be ready, talk enough. But if you get an open doors for your referral, 80% chance you're going to close it. So I feel that referral in B2B is highly underestimated. And if anyone or any startup out there is building something that can help you get the doors open or cross selling, bundling too. We're seeing a lot of companies that are bundling certain services together to be higher chances, to have a higher chances of sales, of selling. Those are creative tactics that I think that are easy and maybe make more sense.
Yeah. We have no time left. We have like 3 minutes left. And I think that if we start a new topic, we probably will have to cut ourselves off early. Maybe we can schedule a follow-up call. What do you think?
I love it. Overcoming objections, frameworks. We can talk about that for sure.
Amazing. Thank you, Willie.
Thank you for having me.